Hey everyone, how's it going? Cloud here, and welcome to my guide on the Gelatinous Abomination Slayer assignments. Now, if you're watching this guide, you're here for one of two reasons. Either you're aiming for 99 Slayer and want the best method to dealing with this Slayer monster, or you're already 99 Slayer, aiming for 120 and wanting the best method to capture this monster's soul for your Slayer Codex. Whatever reason you're here, this is the guide for you. Now, in this guide we'll be going through the following: the requirements to be assigned this monster as a task, which Slayer Master assigns them and how many, best locations for the most effective kills, strategies and weaknesses of the monster, recommended equipment from highest to lowest, tips and tricks to obtain the soul for your codex or dungeon, social Slayer and its rewards, key drops to collect including handy items to help with this. Now, if you've already obtained 99 Slayer but haven't started the Sunken Pyramid Slayer Codex sort of activity, make sure you click the annotation in the video to view that before watching this one. You'll also find a link in the description below. Now, you can choose to watch a certain part of this guide if you wish, or you can just simply to play through the whole video. If you go in the description, there's links to each individual part and the time to skip to that section. Now, for this particular Slayer assignment, unlike other monsters, there are no high level or low level alternatives, so I will only be talking about the standard Slayer monster in this guide. So for the standard level Gelatinous Abominations, so no Slayer level is required to kill them. However, you will need to have equipped some spiked gauntlets in order to finish each of them off. Now, spiked gauntlets can be purchased from any Slayer Master, but the easiest one to get them from is Churail, as he is located near to where you can find these particular Slayer monsters, and they're quite cheap and you need to wear them obviously on your glove slot. Without these equipped, you'll be able to damage the abominations, but you won't be able to finish them off. The level 4, they have 150 life points and they have max hits that vary between 9 and 12. They use both styles of combat, which is melee and magic, so I believe melee is a max hit of 9 and magic is a max hit of 12. However, they have a range style weakness, particularly against arrows. Now, as for Slayer Masters, the only Slayer Master to assign Gelatinous Abominations as a task is Churail. So Churail can be found southeast of the Taverley Lodestone, and you can see the little Slayer icon on the minimap. Now, if you completed the Wild Gothic Sleeps quest, Churail will be replaced by Spira, but they both have the same effect. So there's no actual sort of Slayer level required or combat level required to be able to use Churail as a task, and Churail will assign anything between 15 to 50 abominations per task. So as for best locations, there is only one location available for these monsters, which is the Taverley Slayer dungeon, which is located near Churail himself and also near the Lady of the Lake. So easiest way to get here, obviously from the Taverley Lodestone, if you head sort of south and then east across the bridge, you'll go past where Churail is, and this is when you want to get your gloves, if you haven't got them already, the spiked gauntlets. Then continue directly south of here and you'll see a cave on sort of like not an island, but it's surrounded by water. Once you go into the cave, if you go into the very southern part of the cave, you'll come across the Gelatinous Abominations, and they're kind of spread across two different sort of chambers, but they are in close proximity of each other. So in terms of strategies using their weaknesses, so like I said at an earlier part of this guide, they have a particular weakness to range style attacks. So obviously using bow and arrow here will be the most effective sort of approach. It's also helpful that you're able to hit them sort of from further away, so where melee, for example, you're going to have to get up close and personal. However, the only catch with this is because you need to obviously have the spiked gauntlets on, your character needs to be able to get close to them to finish them off. Now, what I did notice, and don't quote me on this, it might have just been sort of my settings on my character, but once I actually got a Gelatinous Abomination to just 1 life point, which is what the requirement is, my character automatically headed over to then sort of pull the heart out, which is what finishes them off and what you need your spiked gauntlets for. So you haven't actually got to worry about keep going up to them. However, I do know on the sort of wiki guide, it does say that once you've got the Gelatinous Abominations to a low level, level, you have to click the crush option, and that could well be that my character has got unlocked from the Slayer rewards to automatically finish off a monster with its relevant sort of weapon when it's low enough, and so it could be why that's happening. So if you guys haven't got that reward, and that's through the sort of Slayer point system, you may have to manually click to crush the abomination to be able to finish it off. But still, using the range is going to help, because obviously once you've got up to one abomination and finished it off, you can then click sort of the one nearest to you, and with your sort of a strong range level, as soon as you hit that abomination, you pretty much may one hit kill it, and then obviously your character will then just go over, rip the heart out, and obviously carry on from there. Now, normally I would say about sort of multiple hitting abilities using the evolution of combat attacks. So I think Ricochet is the ranged one, where the arrow will sort of hit the targets near to it as well. However, I'm not sure whether it works or not with this particular monster, scenes as you have to kill one with the finishing move before you can then obviously kill another one. So that might not work in this situation, but it's still worth a try. Now, as for the Slayer Soul, now the likelihood of capturing a soul in general does have a few factors. So every kill has a chance of trapping the soul, which is affected by the base Slayer level compared to the creature's required level to kill. Obviously, the higher Slayer level you are, the more likelihood you're going to capture them. Also, being on a Slayer assignment for the monster also doubles the chance of trapping the soul. So it is worthwhile trying to get assigned as a soul if you're going to try and go about deliberately obtaining it. Just obviously make sure you've got your Ushabti in your inventory so you're able to capture the soul successfully. Now, as for recommended equipment, so as these monsters are particularly weak to range-based attacks, the recommended weapons and armor will be that of the range category. And so what I generally do in my videos is sort of show a low level, medium level and high level sort of recommended equipment loadout, and it's all going to depend on what your current state of play is. You're either just starting with Slayer, and if you're getting a Slayer assignment, you're going to be a very low level. However, if you've already got 99 Slayer and you're trying to go about obtaining the soul, chances are you've got more resources to access the higher recommended equipment for the Slayer assignment. But again, obviously it is just recommended, so if you feel you want to mix up a little bit or go with something completely different, that's your choice. This is obviously just my recommendation. So I wanted to quickly talk about Social Slayer for those of you who don't know what that is. So Social Slayer is basically just like a normal Slayer assignment, however you can do it with a friend. So obviously I've been doing that myself with my good friend Thomas, aka Rune Movies, aka Mario Sonic, as we're both going about to obtain all the souls for our Slayer dungeon. Now how you go about doing this is with either your Slayer gem, or if you have a Slayer helmet, if you right click that item you can choose the option co-op options, and then you can invite your friend to join a Slayer party with you. Do note though that once you're in a Slayer party, if you sort of go too far apart from each other or one of you logs out, you will exit the Slayer party and will have to rejoin, so just do take note of that. But basically you'll then, if one of you asks for a Slayer assignment from your respective Slayer master, you'll both share that assignment between the two of you, which is quite handy because some of you will be able to influence what assignments you get. Now obviously the only disadvantage is obviously there'll be less kills between the two of you. So for example, if Chirel assigns you 50, best case scenario is you'll have 25 each. But obviously the perks of it is that you'll complete the assignment quicker, which will mean you'll get more Slayer assignment points, but you'll also collect what's known as Slayer co-op points, which can be used for additional rewards. Now being in a co-op party doesn't affect the chance of getting a soul, so you're not going to be at a disadvantage of doing it. So if you and a friend are both trying to obtain all of your 151 souls, I would recommend doing this as it makes it a little bit more fun. And the rewards you can get from the co-op points are quite good. You have the ability to use food on your partner, you can both share the same protective equipment, there's all different varieties of things you can use, so it is definitely recommended if you're up for that sort of thing. So, in terms of key drops, so the Gelatinous Abominations don't really drop anything that decent, if I'm perfectly honest, and that's due to them being quite a low level. However, there's a few things to look out for. So, they do drop charms, so I always say it's worth collecting charms, as you never know when you're going to need them to boost your summoning up. So, obviously, they drop a variety of charms, but mostly gold. The sort of highest value thing they can drop are watermelon seeds, and they drop them in quantities of 2, and they're stackable, so again, you can collect those. and other than that, everything else is not really that great. They do drop shield bows that sell for a couple of hundred coins on the Grand Exchange, and they do also drop things like bread and rabbit sandwiches that are worth a little bit, but I wouldn't go filling all your inventory up with that sort of stuff, as it's not really gonna be worthwhile you going back and forth from the bank with them. So obviously, like I said, keep an eye out for those particular items that I did mention. And in terms of experience, every gelatinous abomination you kill will grant you 6.6 Slayer experience. So there we are, that's my guide on the Gelatinous Abomination Slayer assignments. Now, I know not many of you will be watching this guide due to the Abominations being quite a low level Slayer assignment. However, I do wish to complete a guide for every single possible Slayer assignment, and obviously those of you who are just starting off may find it worthwhile to watch. So myself and Thomas will be planning to make a guide on every single one of the Slayer monsters that can be assigned as a task, and also every monster that can have its soul obtained, as we're both trying to go for 151 in our codex. So obviously there will be a lot higher level Slayer monsters and higher level guides to come as we get going, but we're just beginning with the low level ones. But if you are looking for more guides, just keep an eye out on my Slayer playlist, which these videos are added to, and more will be coming out as the coming weeks go by. But thank you very much for watching today. Please make sure you like, favourite, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends. Thanks everyone, and happy slaying.